Hi, hello. Today we're talking about building with colour. Colour is one of your main tools in your toolkit as a builder to tell the story about the build you're making. A build that's black with red highlights will have a completely different feel to it than a build that's orange with yellow highlights, even if it is the same build and in the same area. The colour, or the lack of it, can be used to guide the eye around the build. The same can be said for shadowed spots, but we're not talking about lighting today. The brightest blocks you have at your disposal are concrete in both its normal and powdered form, wool and glazed terracotta. Each of these has its own advantages and disadvantages to being used. Powdered concrete can't go underwater, normal concrete is smooth, and wool is textured. As for glazed terracotta, it's rotatable, and an easy placement hack is to place down a block that you're not building with, and then place an example piece of terracotta that you're working with in front of it. What this does is it gives you a reference point to see which way the pattern on the block is facing when you place it, because the pattern will always face in the same rotation in relation to you when it's being placed. By taking an approach with your builds where colour is the most important thing, the texture of your blocks is something that can become a part of your shading process. For instance, a diorite block may become a light grey block to help shade between bone and stone, in a similar way to the process for pixel art. It's not so easier to do on smaller builds, as there isn't so much room for block area to build with. But for larger builds, you can have a lot more freedom in the way that colour is placed around your build. You can use blocks such as black stone, smooth basalt, or grey concrete to enhance shadowed areas, or on the other end of things, take brighter options of the blocks that you are building with, such as red sandstone to highlight orange terracotta. Doing this sort of thing will help give the illusion of depth to your build, where there is little to no depth, or enhance the depth that is already there. From here, we can jump into colour theory and talk a little about colour palettes. Most of you will be familiar with something called a colour wheel, right? If not, that's all good. We have one here. It's a symbolic representation of how colours mix, basically. So one of the first things we need to know is that things on the opposite side of the colour wheel to each other make colours look brighter. And sometimes, two very bright colours can be an eyesore when put together. An easy way to combat this is by dulling one or both of the colours. What this means is if we were to build a build out of orange and blue concrete, it wouldn't look that great, because both the orange and blue are very bright. It will look, well, you can see. But if we swap the blue concrete for light blue terracotta, you can see how it changes things, right? Another simple way is to make a colour palette and pick a leading colour. For example, blue, then red, and then yellow. Red would be the most used colour, followed by blue, then yellow. And just like the last build, it doesn't look the best with all those brighter colours up in our face. So we can fix that by swapping out the red concrete for some stripped crimson hyphae and the blue concrete for some packed ice, leaving the yellow to catch people's eyes. So how do we take all of this and turn it into a build? First step, we need to decide what we want to build. Second step, have a look at the blocks you're able to get. In creative mode, your options are limitless, but in survival you may want to limit yourself to what you either have on hand or can easily collect or farm. Third step, start building. I prefer to do one pass where I lay out the general colour first, and then add colour detail. Once you have the general colour areas, you can go and add your shading to different areas. such as in corners under windowsills and such, where you can use much darker blocks of the same colour to pretend to be a shadow that isn't actually there, but looks like it is when you stand back, like nether brick on a brighter red or orange wall. On top of this, you can use your colour palette to brighten things up, and this is where glazed terracotta comes in. It's one of the blocks that has multiple colours in a small space and can form many patterns depending on how you place it, making it a very versatile building block for detail work and highlighting areas. Say you are doing a build with orange and blue as your base colours. You would be easily able to reach for the orange, light blue, or blue glazed terracotta as an easily guaranteed block that will look good in your build. Lastly, by having areas that have less detail or more detail than the rest of the build, you can lead people's eyes around your build. Or you can use fake shadows made with darker blocks to hide things that you don't particularly want to be looked at for a long while, and bright centerpieces to draw the eye. And on a final note, your terrain can affect how your build looks. A build made for the desert won't look the same if you plop it in the tundra, so keep that in mind when you build. Have fun, and have fun building. See you next time.